yes, we're in a legal system, and as much as we as lawyers can say, but we're lawyers and we shouldn't have to think about the emotions and we're not skilled and we're not trained, we're also human beings. And so we can empathize with someone. And there is a difference between empathy and sympathy.
Yes.
So empathizing, you know, trying to see it from their perspective, not jumping on their bandwagon and getting yourself consumed in their case and, you know, taking on the sort of baton for them, but understanding it from their perspective and being able to say to your client, I can see from how you've described that to me how painful that has been for you. And it's just saying those things rather than what I have heard in my career, things like, well, that's a shame that that happened. It just doesn't matter. Could we just move on to whatever the legal thing is that you want to talk about? And I think this is a really important part for the role of a lawyer.
Yeah. Wow. What advice, Clarissa, would you give a young lawyer who's entering into family law on how to draw emotional boundaries with your family law cases? Because I'm still in my first kind of 7 years of practice, and I still sometimes get emotionally involved, and then, you know, I get upset, and then it kind of, what advice would you give to people like me or younger lawyers on how to manage these emotions and your clients' expectations?
So in terms of your own emotions, there's a strong chance if you're practicing in family law that you will be a kind, empathetic person who will feel the emotions, or you wouldn't be drawn to an area like family law. So know that within yourself, and know that it's okay that sometimes you will hear things, you will work with people where whatever they're experiencing takes a toll on you, and there'll be other people where it has no impact whatsoever, and that's human nature. And acknowledge that within yourself. And it's okay to be upset because you've heard something that's really horrible, or it's okay to feel the same pain that someone else might be feeling. But it is really important to draw that line in the sand and know that that is their pain to carry, not yours. So a couple of techniques that I guess that work for me. One is exactly what I spoke about a minute ago, understanding and practicing the difference between empathy and sympathy. You know, empathy, being curious and genuinely trying to understand something from someone else's perspective, but not jumping into the car with them and, you know, being a part of the case. And really, you see it when lawyers do that. And you can read it in their letters, and you can feel when they've lost that impartiality around what they're doing. And your clients want you to do that. Your clients want you to suck yourself in and be on their team. But you can't. It will absolutely destroy you. And you need to have little rituals in your day that help you to do that. And one of the simplest ones is, as you leave your desk, whether that's at home or at work or wherever it is in 2020, saying to yourself, all these problems are still going to be here tomorrow. So I have a choice. I can take them all home with me and let them stress me out for the rest of the night. Or I can literally take a deep breath right now and say, I'm leaving them here on my desk, and I'll pick them back up tomorrow, because they're someone else's problems. They are not mine. My problems are my problems to solve. My job as a lawyer is to help identify for my clients what their options are, but never tell them what to do. They have to make that decision. So my job, I certainly believe, is to be always saying, you know, Mr. Smith, from what your information you've given me, I think I can see 4 different things that we could do here. And then I would always say, do you have any other ideas? And sometimes people say, yeah, I do. And I say, oh, that's actually a superb idea. Tell me how that would work. And we always problem solve it and go like, what do you think could happen if we did this? What about that? What about this? What about that? And then I say, okay, well, they're all of the different options. Which one are you thinking is the right one for you? And that's a really important, I think, paradigm to sit in. And it's a risk management strategy as well. Because if you're always empowering your client and reminding them that this is their life, they are the ones that have to live the consequences of these decisions, not me. You know, if you do that, how do you think that's going to play out for you? How do you think that'll affect your kids? How will that affect your wife? How do you think a judge will perceive that text message that you've just sent? Talk me through that one. If you come at it from that perspective, I find it really helps your clients to be able to build their own, you know, self-confidence again and go, I've got this, I can do this. Right. Okay, great. How do I problem solve this? There's a whole lot of learnings in that. And I
Wow.
guess the final piece in terms of just self-care is that first piece of the happiness thing, health. Please make sure that you are sleeping. I see this a lot with lawyers. The idea that I only need 4 hours a night,
Mm.
that's garbage. You
Mm-hmm.
really
Yeah.
don't. You need so much more than that. So you've got to look after yourself. You've got to make sure you're sleeping. You need to eat well and you need to exercise. Now, you don't have to run marathons if that's not your thing, but you've got to do something.
Yeah.
And if you're not showing up at work the very best version of yourself, then you can never be delivering the very best work. And those days where things are tough, you need to go back to basics. Sleep, eat, exercise. Just come back to basics. And the life of a lawyer will always have ups and downs. There'll always be cases that will take a toll. There'll be stressful things. You'll be yelled at by judges. There'll be horrible opponents. Like, all of these things happen. But there's also lots of beautiful things that happen, and never lose sight of those. Stick them on the wall next to you, highlight them when they happen, remind yourself of all of the good things that come from the privilege that we have in being a lawyer. But come back to basics. When it's not working, when things are tough, what I always try and do in those moments is make sure I go to bed. Just go to bed early, because I
Yes.
know it always is better in the morning.
Yeah.
There's amazing things that happen when you go to sleep.
Yes.
Like, just there's something about the universe that when you wake up after having a
Yes.
proper night's sleep, it's
Yes.
like whatever that was yesterday, it just feels less
Not a
heavy
big deal
today.
now. Yeah.
Yeah. And I can deal with it differently. So
Yeah.
come back to basics.
Wow. I love it. Love that advice. That's been so good, Clarissa. I think a lot of people need to hear this, especially family lawyers, any kind of lawyer, but in family law particularly, especially if you're not careful, you can just get sucked into the case and then you go home, as you said, with those problems, and then you transfer it. And then you've got your own family life, but then you're distracted thinking about, oh, so-and-so's case, and then you're not living your life fully, and then you're having sleepless nights, and then it's a vicious cycle that just keeps going. So
Yeah.
I love that, those recommendations. So that was a great chat, Clarissa. I think that's pretty much it. Is there any last kind of bits of advice that you would have for anyone about to embark on a legal career?
So I just use the Nike slogan, just do it. Go for it.
Yeah.
And if, in 12 months' time, that job that you've taken doesn't work for you, oh, well, go get a different one. And if
Wow.
that one doesn't work for you, go get a different one.
Yes.
Because, our jobs and our careers are important. We spend a lot of time at work over our lifetime. But there are things in life that are actually far more important. And it's really important to not lose sight of those things. Those things will be your relationships with other human beings. And so when it comes to, should I be a lawyer? Should I not? Well, go try. And if it's not for you, you will learn so many things in that little adventure, and it'll lead to the next thing, and then the next thing, and the next thing. If you have the intelligence to have gone through law school, to become a lawyer, the world is your oyster. And I think we underestimate how lucky we are in that context. It's hard work to become a lawyer. We're surrounded by high performance intelligence people when you're in law school and then when you start in law firms. But what we also therefore don't always recognize is the skill that we have, and you can take that anywhere. So my advice to anyone wanting to move into law in a general sense is go for it. And as I said, if it's not for you, if that first job's not for you, then you don't leave the profession, you just move sideways and find something else. But there's always so many wonderful opportunities in the legal profession, and just go
I
and
love
give it
it.
a whirl.
Just do it. And